And we are live. Hey
Oh,
everybody, how you doing? I have a very special guest here. I don't know if you could see her. Let's blow this up a bit here. Hi. Hi Emily.
hello.
Oh, the presidential race.
We have something's playing here.
Seriously.
Sounds like you have more than one guest.
Happens. It always happens to me. Okay. We have Emily Swallow here, and as everyone
Hello.
knows, she's the darkness. Woo!
Ah.
Welcome to the Supernatural Family and the Insanity and Future Therapy Sessions.
Thank you. I love the insanity.
So how you doing?
I'm good. I'm in LA at the moment. I'm on my way to Vancouver soon to maybe do some more Supernatural. But I haven't gotten to talk a lot about the darkness because they didn't want to give too much away at first. So I'm excited to chat about her because I think she's cool. And I also just like being able to introduce myself as the darkness. Kind of rad.
Total badass. It's awesome.
Yeah. People are like, what are you doing on TV these days? I'm the darkness, you know.
Yeah, you predate God. You're more powerful than God, you know.
I mean, he's my brother, you know, so.
You're the big sister. You get to pick on him.
Exactly. If I can find him.
Join the club. So you originally didn't start out on the path to acting. You've done, your life took a very different turn in the beginning. So you want to talk about how you got into performing?
Yeah, well, I mean, I always performed when I was a kid. My parents both loved music. My mom, who was really active in the church choir, like put me in the kids choir. And I loved doing that, but I was also terrified to do it. I was super, super shy, but, you know, I wanted to be out there. And I always did plays in school and stuff, but no one in my family is in the arts. So I guess I just never really felt like, oh, yeah, that's something I could actually do. So I was a Middle Eastern Studies and Foreign Affairs major in college and thought I was going to go into the Foreign Service. And I do, you know, I still dream of someday when I can go back to that and combine that with acting and just be like a super spy. But I had this wonderful drama. I mean, I had a lot of wonderful acting teachers when I was in college, because even though I wasn't majoring in it, I was taking a lot of classes and doing plays. And he encouraged me to rethink it. And I think all it took was somebody kind of giving me the nudge and saying, no, this is really possible and you have something special to offer. And so I auditioned for graduate training programs and got into NYU, and New York seemed like a pretty good place to be if I wanted to be an actor. So I walked through the door when it opened, and I feel really fortunate that doors continue to open, so I get to keep doing what I love.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So NYU, huh? New York girl too. Very cool.
Yeah, well, by way of the South, because I grew up in the South.
Oh, where about?
Jacksonville, Florida, which is North Florida, which is still the South. Florida's like two different states.
That's true. Well, I was just there a few weeks ago for Jacksonville Con.
I know, yeah. I so wanted to go, but like they book the people that are coming to that so far in advance, and they had done it before the darkness even existed. So yeah, all these people in my hometown were like, are you going to be there? And I was not.
Yeah, we got to work on getting you there.
Yeah, well, I know
con material.
I'm doing something in England in May, so they're starting to get on the calendar.
Awesome. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, everybody's screaming their hellos, and my friend Rogue here, she says that you need cards that you can hand out that say, I'm the darkness. I'm the darkness.
I know, right?
I'm the darkness.
It's definitely like the coolest character name I've ever had.
Totally. You've done quite a variety of things. You've done TV, film, stage. Do you have a favorite medium?
I love them for different reasons. I mean, on the the one that speaks to my heart the most is theater, just because I love being involved in something from start to finish. And I've just gotten to develop more plays than I have anything in TV or film. And I love the way, I love this kind of the slow burn of theater, the rehearsal process, and getting to work on something really intimately with a group of actors and a director, and to find things gradually. And you kind of, I mean, you do get that in television when you get to appear on a show repeatedly, like if you're a series regular or recurring character, because then you do develop that closeness with the other actors, and you have a shorthand, and you all know each other, and your relationships inform it. And so that sort of replicates it, but it's still, I just find television to move so quickly, the shooting process, and you do most of the work on your own. You know, I do all my work for an episode before I ever get there to shoot it. And I find that everyone on this show is wonderfully collaborative, and they're game for talking about the characters and talking about what's going on. And the directors that I've worked with have been great. And the writers, you know, told me what they could at the beginning about who she was and what they had in store for her. But I think they were still trying to figure it out. So in my heart of hearts, I love theater. And I also I love having the audience right there, you know? I mean, I don't really get to find out how something I do in TV or film impacts people until I've finished it and put it away, you know, my part of it. And then who knows what kind of editing process it goes through. And then people see it down the line. And even with TV, you know, in different countries, it'll air in the States at some point, and then it might not be several months before it airs somewhere else. And so it's just a much more, it doesn't feel quite as connected, which is why it's so cool to be on a show like this that has such an active fan base that's so responsive and so involved, because then I kind of get that feeling that I get being on stage and being close to an audience. I'm like, oh yeah, like I get to interact with these people, and that makes it a lot of fun.
Well, there's another thing that you do on stage that I would really love to talk about. You have a cabaret show called Jack and Swallow.
Yes, I do. But it's not just me. The other part of it is Jack. I mean, you know, you have to have a Jack with a swallow, and it's you know, it's really satisfying to me just to have been able to name it that, because as you might imagine, my last name being what it is, I have heard, I mean, there's nothing I haven't heard ever since I was a kid. And everybody's like, oh, that must have been rough when you were younger. Like, people must have said things all the time. And I'm like, when I was younger, like, it doesn't stop. And so my wonderfully talented friend Jack, short for Jacqueline, I met her. So I went to grad school with a guy named Adam. She went to undergrad with the same guy named Adam. We met at his wedding, but we were kind of like two ships passing. Like, we didn't really become friends then. But then we were doing this workshop to develop a musical in New York about the Oneida Colony, which was sort of an odd subject matter. But it was kind of the first free love / religious sect, I guess, in the United States. And somebody decided to make a musical about it. They're also very well known for their flatware. They make spoons.
Oh, okay. That's what when you said Oneida. Okay.
Yeah. Everyone thinks of the spoons. So she and I are both kind of class clowns. I get that from my grandma. And who, like, when I go to Sunday school with her, like, she is always like making all these comments under her breath and cracking everybody up. And I go there and they're like, you got to keep an eye on her while she's here. And there's no keeping an eye on her. But I digress. So Jack and I just kept like making each other laugh. And then we realized we were kind of making other people laugh. And our friend Adam, when he saw that we were becoming friends, he was like, I'm going to misquote him, but it was something like, with voices and boobs that big in the same room, you got to make a stage show. And thus was born Jack and Swallow. And it's so much fun to work on. We've been doing it for a few years. She lives in New York, though, and since we started doing it, I find myself more in LA, which was not the case when we first came up with the idea. So we sort of have a long-distance love affair most of the time, and then we get together and really just talk about like all the shit that's going on in our lives on stage. And we're a really interesting natural contrast because we're roughly the same age, and she's married with a kid and, you know, has a home. And it seems like every time we do the show, like she is more and more advanced in like normal human development. Whereas I'm like living out in LA and she's like, where are you living now? And I'm all over the city and, you know, working in different cities to do a play or going somewhere to do a TV show. And for a really, really long time, I was like, yep, still not seeing anybody. And so, but I deal with all this weird career stuff that she's not used to. So like, we really don't have to work that hard. The natural circumstances of our lives give us plenty of things that contrast and to be really cheeky about and not terribly inappropriate. I mean, I feel like the raciest thing about the show is the name. You know, it's all in good fun.
Brilliant. Absolutely punnerific. Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I want to encourage everybody to please go to the Jack and Swallow. Is it jackandswallow.com? JACN.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's horribly out of date, but we're working on it.
But there are video clips that you can click on, and it's utter hilarious. I mean, the theme song was beautiful, and you kind of walked through the theme song just now, exactly, because that tells the story of how the two of you met and started to work together and everything. So
yeah,
it was really cool. We have a question from my friend Mishi, also known as Rogue, and she wants to know what your favorite Shakespeare character is.
Oh golly, Kate from Taming of the Shrew is the one that first pops up.
Okay. I know of Taming of the Shrew, but I don't know the play well. I'm so Shakespeare illiterate.
Well, it's kind of a controversial play, which I think is one of the reasons I like her. I've played her before. But if somebody were going to say, you know, tell me about Taming of the Shrew in as few words as possible, most people would say it's about this like really rebellious who doesn't want to get married, and then her dad like hires this guy to tame her and basically like force her to fall into line. And I mean, that sounds horrible. And that's often how it's done. Like, people play that part of it up. They play up her like crazy rebelliousness, unless of course you're talking about the movie and it's Elizabeth Taylor, so she's like beautiful and glamorous and rebellious. And they play up his like kind of barbaric nature and how clever he is, and he kind of outsmarts her, and she ultimately like gets subdued, and you think, well, they must like be really miserable for the rest of their lives. But I got to do a production of it almost 6 years ago now in San Diego, and our director said, what if we look at this like it's really truly a love story? And if you look at it that way, I think it's actually like one of the most honest relationships in Shakespeare, because, you know, we've got all these like epic Romeo and Juliet and, you know, well, like very tortured Hamlet and crazy Ophelia and all these like kind of epic contrasts between people, and either like, you know, magical, they fall in love immediately and they live happily ever after, you're made to assume, or something bad happens, like someone dies. And I really feel like Kate and Petruchio, who's the guy in the play, they're both like these very individual people who want to hold on to their individuality in a society that doesn't want them to, that really like thinks a wife should look a certain way and a husband should look a certain way, and they should get along a certain way. And marriage at the time, in the context of the play, was very much like a transaction. Like Kate's dad truly does basically need to sell her off for her dowry. And Kate's so used to everyone telling her, like, she's not good enough the way she is. She needs to change to get a guy. And then she meets this guy who is like totally fucking confused by her because she is like unlike anyone he's ever met. But he's willing to kind of soften and lean into that and try to understand her, and also try to help her understand that she doesn't have to fight so hard. And there's a scene in the play where it sort of seems like, if you read it one way, it seems like he's just presenting all these impossible riddles and trying to kind of drive her crazy. But if you look at it another way, the way we looked at it, there's all this talk about, like, he calls the sun the moon, and, you know, starts naming things different names. And at first she's like, you're crazy. And then she starts to go along with it. And really, like, the way that we looked at the scene was that he's saying to her, like, look, it doesn't matter. Like, if we call the sun or the moon, what matters is that you and I call it the same thing. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Like, as long as we're on each other's team, we're great. And so that was the approach that we took to the play. And it was just so joyful because it was these two awkward people, like, trying to figure out love and messing up and hurting each other, but ultimately recognizing, like, they had each other's backs. And it was just such a joy to approach it that way. And so it felt so human.
Oh, wow. Now I feel like I need to go and read the damn play. Thank you for explaining that to me and for anybody else. Apparently, Rogue, you are very Shakespeare literate and makes me feel dumb on a daily basis. However, if you could pick one piece of your work, whether it's from one of the plays that you've done or a television episode or whatnot, what would you feel is your best work to date?
That's so hard.
You can say all of it.
No, I wouldn't say all of it. I this is also one of the reasons I love theater so much. I feel like I've gotten to do so far some of the most challenging and inventive things on stage. And I did a play 3 years ago, I want to say, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, of all places, called Nice Fish. And it was co-written by Mark Rylance and Louis Jenkins, who's a poet. And Mark and Louis wrote the play based on, kind of inspired by some of Louis's poetry, which is like kind of prose poetry. Like, it's very weird and very free, and it's not, you wouldn't necessarily...
Like form?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in that play, I got to play a Norse goddess named Flo. And it was about these two fishermen who were, like, ice fishing on the last day of the fishing season and sort of having an existential crisis, like wondering what life is all about, wondering what the next big thing is. And they may or may not, through their wanderings, conjure these Norse gods who happen upon them. And the way I happened upon them was this, like, big wind came along. And imagine, if you will, a stage that is like a frozen lake. That's what it looks like. And this sauna ice house slides onto the stage, which was something that I didn't even know existed. But apparently, if you go ice fishing, mm-hmm. you can also, like, take advantage of ice houses that have saunas in them out there on the lake. Okay. And the door opens, this big billow of steam comes out, and I step out wearing a really ridiculous bikini and, like, Uggs. And that's where the play kind of takes a shift. And so these two, like, very humble fishermen who are just so, like, really simple guys, we think, they get taken on this crazy adventure by these Norse gods who are completely irresponsible. They wreak all sorts of havoc, but they're just so free. And so, like, I loved Flo because she just had so much love for life and for everyone. And the play itself was so much fun to work on because there was so much of it that we created in the room. And then there were parts of it that we improvised every night. So there were some things that were different from performance. Well, there was something different from performance to performance all the time, and which was terrifying sometimes, knowing that, you know, because you mess up a take when you're shooting something, and you can go back and do it again. When you're on stage, like,
that's it.
yeah, that's it. So it's thrilling and it's terrifying at the same time. But I love, like, when you're in a situation like that, like, all you can do, if you panic, you're sunk. All you can do is, like, breathe and wait for the inspiration to come. And then it usually does. So, you know, you're okay. And I feel like whenever I learn that lesson when I'm performing, I'm reminded, like, oh yeah, that's life. Like, just chill the fuck out and, like, breathe. And usually things are going to be okay.
Life is an improv.
Yeah.
Basically.
I feel like I have to ask you, the sun is going down. Do I look dark now, or am I okay?
Is that a joke? But no.
I heard it coming out of my mouth and I was like,
You know, you just walked into it. You do look a little darker now.
Let me see what I can do.
You can shift the computer. Oh, there you go.
I think I could turn towards the window.
There was light.
Like, wait, what kind of mess is behind me?
Oh my God! I saw your dirty dishes.
Ah!
So
I can only look behind me at that one angle. Like, I don't really know. I don't know what's here.
I see something crawling up your wall. No, I'm kidding.
Don't do that.
No. So, what's your favorite role to date?
I mean, well, I just talked about Flo, so I feel like I'm not allowed to say that.
So
but
that's
Flo was great.
I'm sorry?
I said, but Flo was great. And Kate, I love. And, I mean, the darkness is amazing. I have to say, like, this is one of the coolest things I feel like I've ever gotten to do on TV. It's the first time I've ever gotten to do anything on TV that's not realism. You know, I've played, like, a neurosurgeon, which was pretty awesome. And, you know, an FBI agent. And I have like, on an episode of Flight of the Conchords, I was a mermaid, so that was interesting.
Cool.
But the darkness is pretty cool. I'm having fun with her.
I would say, oh, that's cool. So did you know what the hell you were walking into with the supernatural fandom? Like, I'd like to think we're a little bit unique in that regard.
No, I didn't know exactly. I knew to expect something, because I was like, okay, if a show's been on the air this long, then people are obviously, like, super committed to it. And I got my first taste of kind of television fandom in general when I did a season of The Mentalist, because there were a lot of people who were very passionate about that show. So I kind of, like, got broken in on that, and I'm glad, because, like, when you've never experienced it, it can be alarming, because, like, it's so strange with Twitter and with social media and with people kind of being able to say whatever the hell they want. Like, people say whatever the hell they want. And I remember when I was first doing The Mentalist, like, I would get so hurt about some things and then realize, like, there was really no reason. And then I would get so excited, you know, when I would get messages from people all over the world or see. And I love, like, learning how people look at the show, like, all the things that they find in it that I hadn't thought about. But I have to say, I feel like, you know, I expected some people to have very mixed opinions about the character because of who she is. And I learned on The Mentalist that anytime you have any sort of romantic tension with the main guy who's super dreamy, a lot of people are going to get pissed off at you. So I don't take that personally. So it's really been fun. I mean, I did not know the scope of it. I didn't know, like, how vast the fan base was, but it's been a positive experience so far.
Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. We haven't scared you away yet.
I mean, I'm the darkness. I can't scare easily. I have to be brave.
That's true. Now, considering the fact that you're playing the most powerful being ever on the show, did you face any challenges when you were trying to craft her, coming up with her backstory and conveying who she is? What kind of challenges did you face there?
Well, I feel really fortunate that from the beginning, the writers presented her to me in a really human way. I mean, they told me who she was. They told me, I don't remember if I knew from the beginning that I think I knew she was God's sister and kind of like what her story was. But really the way they talked about her to me made me feel like I could understand her. And that's sort of the stuff I've had to hold on to, because I don't have any concept of like what it would really be like to have that much power, what it would really be like to be whatever, locked away for
Sorry.
Actually, I am a minor deity, and I had this casting call Lockdown. Lockdown? Nailed Down. I don't know.
Lockdown is kind of creepy.
Yeah. So I found myself really attaching to like feeling lonely. I mean, she's been lonely for a long time, feeling misunderstood, feeling like, you know, she walks into this world where everyone's against her just because the party line has been God the whole time. And, you know, this is what they know. They don't know her, so they're scared of her. And then, you know, granted, she starts to do some things that make people very justifiably scared of her.
Annihilation might make them a little afraid of you.
Yeah. But I don't know. I just found myself really trying to understand the parts of her that felt vulnerable and curious. I mean, imagine like not ever being in the world and then walking into it. I mean, she's so curious about what's going on and then I think about, you know, the stuff with Dean, which I still don't know like what it is, what it will become, but just having this feeling that she's never experienced before and being drawn to this person, not really knowing why, and like wanting, you know, just wanting to feel that. Like, I think it's as simple as that sometimes. Like, I feel this thing for this person that I don't feel for anything else. I want to be around him. I mean, I think we can all relate to that. Hopefully.
Being around Jensen or people in general?
Oh, no, people in general. I mean, Jensen is lovely, but I mean, like, specifically in our lives, you know, if we're lucky, we meet people that, like, we just click with and we want to be around. And then I can definitely relate to wanting answers, wanting revenge, like feeling wronged and feeling like somebody's got to answer for this. And my own big brother never did anything quite like this, but you know, there were definitely times when I felt like I got picked on and he's a big bully and I want him to feel sorry for it. And I want him to tell me like, I am okay and I am cool and whatever, you know, wanting validation. So that kind of stuff was the stuff I really have to attach to. And then all of the, like, I admit the first episode where I was like smiting angels and blood to come from fountains. When you're doing that, it feels so stupid because you don't have any of the special effects. And so I just had to like trust that it was all going to look great. And for her, I feel like she trusts her own power. So I didn't think it needed to be anything like super crazy. Like I felt like what clicked for me with her was trying to just feel that steady strength and that trust that even though everyone is against me, I can still accomplish what I need to accomplish. I have a goal. I don't quite know how I'm going to get there, but damned if anyone's going to stop me. So, I mean, I love that about her, that even though she's doing all this crazy shit, like, I feel like a lot of her struggle is very, very relatable. When you take it out of context and reduce it to like, to those simple those simple human needs that we have.
That's a good point. That's a very good point, because I mean, she does demonstrate pretty much a lot of insecurities that all of us feel, and like you said, there's that sense of need for validation, for being wronged. Yeah, so when you do break it down that way, that makes total sense. And I think that might be,
Now it's okay. Now it's okay that she kills people, right?
exactly. Like, it's okay if people blow up. It's totally fine. We get it. We understand. And, we'll forgive you just because we understand now. But no, I mean, seriously, I think that's why a lot of, there's this huge draw to your character, because yeah, you're a badass and you're smiting angels and you're sucking souls out of people, but you know what? We still love you because there's something there that we relate to as human beings. And there are, like you said, a lot of human qualities that you make very evident. But you forget that while we're watching the show, we're forgetting, we're not, I guess, acknowledging, consciously all of those human elements, because we're looking at this is God's sister. And
of course. I mean, I've come into this world that's been going for a really long time. And so, of course, anytime a character comes into the established order and threatens it, like, it's alarming.
Yeah.
So I get that. I love that people have mixed feelings about her. I have mixed feelings about her. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, I can really get behind this. And sometimes I'm like, oh, but I mean, that also happens for me in real life. Sometimes I look back on something I've done and I'm like, yeah, I was right. And sometimes I'm like, oh God, I was a doofus.
That's me on a daily basis, actually. End of the game. With your experience in the industry, have you seen any changes in the way women have been cast and treated? Would you like to see any changes in the way that women are cast and treated in the industry?
I think so. I feel like, I feel like you look at people like, Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, who are writing and producing their own stuff, and Amy, yep, there goes my memory. I feel like it's I do feel like more opportunities are happening. I feel like we're getting to see women in more interesting roles. But I also feel like there's such a big fuss about it when it happens that I'm like, I can't wait to get to the point where it's just a given that, of course, a woman can write and star in a movie that's, and it can be a huge box office draw. Like, yeah, women can be funny. Women, can be all the things just in different ways that men can be. But I'm grateful definitely to be in the industry now, as opposed to like 20 or 30 years ago when it was more limited. And I feel like the industry is starting to reflect like also what we're seeing in the world, and it's slow going in the world too, like in terms of women in government and women with equal pay. And so I'm just grateful that it's happening at all. And I'm inspired by the women who do make more noise about it and are getting shit done.
Groovy. That's awesome. That's true. I mean, to be a woman in this day and age is, I'm always grateful every day of my waking life that I was not born in the 1950s, because I would have been killed. I would have been killed. I know I would have been killed. I would have stoned people in the 50s, but they probably would have stoned me, So, I appreciate what you were saying. So what is the best interview question you've ever been asked? And I know it's definitely not anything that has happened in the past 45 minutes.
I love your questions. I feel like I was trying to come up with an answer for that, and there's nothing that stands out as something like super crazy wild. I I do feel like maybe this doesn't quite count maybe, but I once got this message on Facebook from when I was doing The Mentalist from somebody random who asked, and you know, people ask a lot of things, they make requests, and the only thing he requested was that, and it was just so bizarre the way it was worded, please always and only wear pantsuits. No, pants. That was it. It was pants. It wasn't even pantsuits, which made me, and like I wore pantsuits on the show, and I was like, are you asking me if I would please like wear pants and no shirt? Are you asking me if I would not wear a skirt? Like, it was so bizarre. That's so not an answer to your question, but that's kind of the road I went down when I was trying to think of like, okay, what are crazy things people have asked me or said to me or wanted to. It was sort of a question because he asked me if I would do that. I never answered him, but.
Well, that kind of the next question, it sounds like, because it sounds like that could be a combination of the best interview question and the worst interview question, depending on how you look at it, right?
Yeah.
Unless you could.
It's versatile.
It just happened here as the worst interview question. But.
No, absolutely not. And I'm fortunate not to have been asked really like bad interview questions. I think like since we have spoken about my name already, I think one of the worst questions I have gotten asked by a casting director actually was, and more than one person has asked me this, but I think a casting director also asked me if Swallow was my stage name, like if I had chosen that name for myself. And I was like, why? Why would I bring that on myself? I mean, I love my name because it's my family's name, and that's why I never changed it. But still, like, why would I choose that? Why would I choose to be an actor who's not a porn actor? Like, you know what I think sounds good?
Well, I think if you were going to be a porn actor, you could just put an S on the end of your name.
Which people do all the time. That's what they think it is. And like, and it's such an awkward moment because I want to correct them because swallows does sound worse than swallow, but then swallow's bad enough. So, you know, somebody's saying, hi, Emily Swallows, and I say swallow, like, then it's already awkward. Like, just because the word is what it is. So I usually just let it go. Although, I mean, I thought I was super clever when the whole, like, Elliot Spitzer scandal was going on.
Right.
And I was like, I think that I should marry Elliot Spitzer, and we should hyphenate our last names so I could be Emily Spitzer Swallow. And then in that case, the S would come in handy.
Oh my God. That, you know, I think you need to track down one of his relatives because that has to happen.
I don't really want to marry him though. I'm good.
We have a question from Wayward Bard, who's also known as Cora. Hello, Cora. And she's asking, with Amara being a goddess and likely with the power of creation herself, what would you have her make and how would you have her gain followers?
Well,
Besides
what I have her make, or what does she want to make?
I'm sorry?
I mean, I said, what would I have her make, or what does she want to make?
I guess what would she make? What would she make?
Because her thing seems to be like this super chill, like laid back. I mean, she talks about it being nothing, but not nothing. I think, like, from what I know about her so far, she's really troubled by how much pain there is in the world, and by, like, you know, God made these humans, and to her, in her, like, pretty short experience, you know, she hasn't been around that long. I think it's hard for her because she most notices, like, the pain in the world. She notices how people are cruel to one another. She notices how people don't have enough of what they need. She's seeing all the scarcity in the world. And I don't know. I mean, I think because of her own pain, she won't let herself see the good as much as she could. And because she feels so persecuted, and I feel like she gets a glimpse of that in Dean. You know, there's something that he seems to her to be the most compelling argument for creating humans. But even that, you know, I think she's still pretty conflicted about it. And so I don't know if it would gain her any followers, but she seems, her kind of party line and her campaign platform, I guess, is that she wants to create a world where there is no pain and there is no suffering. However, that world also seems to be devoid of humans. So I'm not sure how that would work out. So if she could offer those things, if she could offer, like, you know, nonstop, like, sunny beaches and, you know, you get a crush on somebody and they, like, get a crush on you back and it all works out and you get to eat pizza whenever you want and not get fat, you know,
I'll take that.
What'd you say?
I said, I'll take that. The pizza.
I feel like that was one of my campaign promises when I was in high school, was like, you know, trying to get more pizza at lunch or something. I feel like every kid tries to promise that at some point when they're running for class president. I think, but however, I think that could get her some followers, but then I think people would also realize that a world that never has any conflict and never has any challenge has its own set of problems, you know?
True.
So that's sort of not, and it's a vague answer to that question, I guess. Hello.
Yeah. This is Raven, my video bomber extraordinaire.
What up?
Good. Okay, so let's go to some very undeep questions. If you could be a fly on the wall in any setting, what would it be?
So I was thinking about this, and then I started thinking about actual flies. And I don't know if did you ever watch Breaking Bad?
No, I never did. I'm like the only person on the planet.
You are. There was an episode, though, that was told kind of from the point of view of a fly. Like, there was a fly on the wall of the lab. And I love that show so much. And I love those actors that are all in that show so much that I wish that I could be that fly that was in that episode, so that I could watch their process and, like, get to hang out with Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul and, you know, get to be on that set and not get in anyone's way and, you know, go have the craft services when nobody's watching because I'm a fly and I can do that. And I just want to know, like, what they talked about in between takes on that show. Like, especially, like, you know, I'm playing the darkness. He was playing sort of a darkness of his own as Walter White, and being that meth dealer who, like, let his own, the evolution of that character over the course of the series was just amazing. And so I would love to, like, just watch him at work. So that's the first thing that popped into mind.
Well, so you fangirl over Breaking Bad.
Totally, yeah.
Oh, you know, everybody keeps telling me to watch that show, and now I guess since you said it, I should. You think I should watch it? Watch what?
I even got my boyfriend a Breaking Bad action figure because they have those. And
I did see those. I have seen those before. Oh, that's so cool. They need to come up with. I'm very surprised they don't have supernatural action figures, at least not official ones. I know fans make them.
Oh, that's scary.
Someone who actually makes supernatural action figures, and I'm going to see if he has an Amara one. That'll be interesting.
Huh. I'm surprised that there aren't official ones. They'd make so much money doing that.
Right? Yeah, I don't know. They need to have a talk with their merch people, honestly. Okay, so I know that, you know, from talking with other actors that I've interviewed, you know, they talk about the huge emotional investment that they have in their characters, especially when it's a recurring character that they're building. Have you ever had any roles that you've just become so emotionally invested in that you've actually become a changed person from it?
I mean, I feel like everything I work on changes me to some extent. Obviously, some more drastically than others. But I had an agent, one of my agents, say to me once when I was going off to do, I was going to do Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Do you know that play?
Yes.
Play. was going to do that, and she said, this is a role that rearranges your molecules. And I loved that way of putting it. And that was a role that rearranged my molecules. Like, that was definitely one that changed me in a big way. But I feel like just because of the way I work, every character that I work on, I try to bring as much of myself, try to really, I have this, I don't know, she's not really an acting coach. She's not really a teacher. But this woman who does, her name's Kim Gillingham, and she does a lot of work with actors and artists and writers about, oh God, I could start into go down a really deep rabbit hole, because I need to find a simple way of talking about this. The approach to the work is sort of inspired by Jungian dream work. And I know that sounds a little loopy at first, but basically, like, the essence of it is, when you're approaching your work, recognizing that, like, everything is useful. So, like, when I'm working on a character, like, everything that's going on in Emily's life is useful, because that's what's actually happening to me right now. And that is the kind of, like, that immediacy is going to, what's happening with me right now is going to come into the work whether I want it to or not, because it's what I'm experiencing. Okay. I think, like, when I'm doing a play, that's one of the interesting things to me, that, like, the performance on the first night, even though it's the same play, it's going to be different from the performance on the last night, because I'm a different person. Like, I've lived, 2 or 3 months of my life before the last night. So in more subtle ways, in that case, it's going to be different. And so the work that she does is really about, like, being able to just listen to that. And it's not bringing yourself to the work in the way of, like, you're making every character you, but it's just kind of recognizing, like, how useful everything that's going on around you is. And so because I work that way, I think I learn a lot of lessons from my characters. Like, I mean, like, we used to, or we still do, we tell kids fables to, like, teach them lessons, because it's easier to learn something through a story than it is by just saying, like, don't do this. And so I often find when I'm working on a character that I'll be like, oh man, like, Amara would be so much happier if she didn't feel this intense need for validation and for, like, getting revenge when she feels like she's been wronged. And then, I go, ding, Emily, you'd be happier if, like, you didn't need validation from certain people. And if you could let things go more easily, like when you get pissed off about something. And that's such a huge gift, I think, of being an actor, because when you're working on creating another life, you get to learn lessons from that life, good and bad. You get to learn things that you don't want to do. The characters I've gotten to play inspire me so much. And so, like, sometimes they give me the bravery to do things that I normally wouldn't do. So I feel like everything that I do changes me. It's just a matter of how much.
It's kind of like, it sounds like it's almost like a forced introspection each time you take on a role, because you're drawing from your own resources to kind of bring out the emotional responses that you need, I guess. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, as much as you can, you do. And then sometimes, there's an experience that you've never had that you're trying to figure out. So you're kind of trying it on for size.
Mm-hmm. That has to be exciting.
It is.
Bye. Oh, bye, Raven saying bye.
Bye, Raven. She's so bored. She's like, all right, peace out, I'm done.
She came in, she glued a sequin onto her key and left. The nerve of her. She's trying to make jewelry now, like mommy. So who inspires you? What are your inspirations?
So many people. Oh my gosh. My family inspires me. My boyfriend inspires me. My friends inspire me. Like, I'm surrounded by people that, in my immediate life that are an inspiration to me. I guess like if we're talking about, other actors or other figures, Bryan Cranston, since I just talked about him, also because he seems to be like such a sane human being and such a nice human being. And he was able to create this character that was so incredibly tortured and dark. And I really appreciate people who are willing to like step into the dark without having to become that,
Right.
Who inspires me? I feel like this is one of those questions that has too many answers. Is there like a category you want to give me?
Okay. Let me think about this for a second. Actually, let the viewers pick. Okay, so.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Okay, so you guys think about in what direction that question should go in terms of inspirations for Emily. Are we talking about other actors? Are we talking about family? Are we talking about experiences? So you run with that. I'll jump on to the next question. Okay.
Well, hold on. Now I had a thought of non-human things that inspire me because I live here at the beach in LA, and the ocean is a huge source of inspiration for me. And I surf and I go in the water, and I just feel like something settles in me when I'm near the water. That's definitely my happy place. And then one of the things I do when I'm not working is volunteer work with a group called Surf Rider that works to protect the ocean and the beaches and everything. So that's the ocean and what it gives to me and to so many people is a huge like instant inspiration for me. So I'm really glad to live so close to it.
Oh, that's wonderful. I did notice in your Twitter profile I think you said surfer girl, and it didn't even click with me. But that is so cool. And
talking about web surfing, who knows? But yeah, surfing, ocean surfing.
So you know what? Remind me later if you can email me a link to that organization you were just talking about. Yeah. I would love to read up on it because I do a lot of charity work too. I design pieces and I donate the proceeds towards certain causes, and I'd like to look into that. That'd be really cool.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah, thanks.
Let me see what. Oh, no one's gone anywhere. Oh wait. Oh, we have a question from Margie Satterfield, and she's saying she really loves the Darknesses storyline. And Margie, I think you're a first-time viewer, so welcome. How do you feel about your character?
I love her. She's fun. She's challenging. She's troubled. I'm so curious. Like, I don't know what her fate will be. I'm really curious to find out if she ultimately gets vanquished or redeemed. I don't know. I hope she gets to stay around. But
we want her around. We need the darkness in our lives. Okay, so you're stranded on an island, and you can only have one person with you, and that one person has to be a supernatural character. Who would it be, and why?
I chose someone who. I was like, okay, who's not going to kill me? Who's not going to be annoying? Who's going to give me my personal space? And I have to say, like, from recent watching, I feel like one of the coolest characters is Billy the Reaper.
Oh, yeah.
Like, a kick-ass voice. And she seems, like, super cool. So I feel like hanging out with her, like, some of her coolness would rub off on me. And from what I know about her so far, I feel like, if I give her space, like, we'll be okay. And, she seems like she would have some survival skills. So she could help us fulfill our basic needs for food and water and whatnot. So that's who I'm going with.
That's awesome. Oh, Lisa will be so happy to hear that. You're the first person.
So cool, isn't she? I haven't gotten to meet her in person yet. We just have said hello on Twitter, but we've never been shooting at the same time.
Oh man, that has to happen. She's epic. She surprised me in Pasadena. I was working at Supernatural Con in Pasadena, and I'm at my table. I have my head down, and all of a sudden, her head's in my face. Hi. Oh, hello. And she is an amazing human being. I could totally see you two just going to town. You should do a duet. There you go. Reaper and the darkness.
Maybe the darkness just needs like a cabaret show to be happy, and then she'll stop killing people.
Absolutely.
Or she needs to be like in. Doesn't Rob Benedict have a band? This is what I hear.
Yeah. Loud and Swain.
Just needs to be in the band.
I'm up there.
Yeah.
That just needs to happen.
I mean, everyone's talking about like smiting the darkness and destroying her. Like, all she needs is like some karaoke. She'll be fine. It could be so simple.
Oh, there you go. Oh my God. That's got to be your sales pitch to get at these conventions. Imagine how happy the darkness would be doing the Saturday night special. Honestly.
Yeah.
You know. So speaking of music, what are the top 5 songs in your playlist?
As I told you before we started this, I had so much trouble because I have so many playlists. So, where'd my iPods go now? Because I was just gonna like be straight up honest. Did you know that do you use Spotify?
I do not, but I have it. I just never use it.
I might be like way behind, and maybe you can do this on multiple music services, but I love like that you can share playlists and like each person can contribute. Because my boyfriend and I just started doing this. You get to like, I love this band called The Lone Bellow, and they have a song called Watch Over Us, so that's on my playlist right now. I have some Dolly Parton. I have Jolene.
I love that song.
I kind of like that one. Like, I love Dolly anyway, but I like that one when I'm running because it just like gives me a little extra get up and go.
It's a powerfully charged song, yeah.
Yeah. There's this band I like called the Cinematic Orchestra that there's 2 songs of theirs that are on my playlist that are super different. There's one called To Build a Home, and then there's one called Arrival of the Birds, which is just like orchestral, and it's super cool. And then there's a band called The Head and the Heart that I love, and there's a song that they do called Rivers and Roads that always reminds me of my best friend who I don't often get to see. So that's on there.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, I'm gonna have to check out Spotify now. I didn't know I had no idea that that's what you could do with Spotify. That's very cool.
Yeah, that's how I find so many cool artists, because like you can create a station and then it will suggest other songs based on your likes, and it's sort of, I mean, I have mixed feelings about what music, like it's sort of strange to me not to be able to go out and like buy a whole CD like the way we used to, or a cassette tape when I first started listening to music. But I do love how easy it is to find new things now and to share with other people, and for artists who like don't have the money to go out and like produce a whole album to still get their music heard.
That's a good point. I think it's time for our trivia question.
Woo!
So I was telling Emily earlier, I am not prepared with the piece, as the piece is designed already, and you all have seen it before. I sold it, and as I sell them, I make new ones. I just didn't get to make another one yet, but it will be for the darkness. I'm just gonna put this big screen for 2 seconds.
So cool.
That's the darkness, and the winner of this trivia question will get the darkness. The rules are, if you've not won from me within the past 8 weeks, you're allowed to play. If you've won in the past 8 weeks, get your hands off the keyboard. Okay. So I had to write this down.
Get your friend to play for you.
I know who you are, and I got your address. There you go. So, okay, so in the episode of Brother, Where Art Thou, there is this is one of my favorite scenes with the darkness. It's hilarious. So Amara is having a conversation with this priest, And she makes it clear she's looking for God. She wants to arrange a meeting. So she's basically, saying to the priest, make it happen, right? So the priest is explaining, you have to pray in order. That's how people communicate with God. So she tries praying and it's not working. So then the priest explains to her, no one's really seen God. No one alive has seen God. So when the priest says that to Amara, what does Amara say back to him? When the first person to get what Amara said to the priest when he said no one alive has seen God will get said necklace and go. Yes, right now. And while we're waiting for him.
Exciting.
Yay! And no typos because I'm a former teacher and it makes me crazy. Okay. Oh, God, I can't. I can't. I have no patience at all. So then the final question from me is finish this sentence. All you need is...
It's so useful.
What was it?
A sense of humor.
Oh, a sense of humor. Okay, I'm sorry because you clicked off for a second. Yes!
A very dramatic pause.
I'm like, what? What is it? A sense of humor.
Yeah.
Yes!
You gotta be able to laugh. It makes so many things so much better.
That's true. That is true. And you're the only person out of everybody I've ever asked, you're the only one who said that.
What do people say? I'm so curious about that.
One of my...
I was like, do I give the super smart ass cheeky answer? Because, I came up with stupid shit too. But then I was like,
what are some of the... No, tell me, what are some of the stupid shit answers you came up with?
Well, all you need is cookies. All you need is, although that's probably entirely true for some people. All you need, I don't even remember them now. And I was like, shut up, that part of my brain. Come up with something real.
One of my favorite answers was from Samantha Smith, who plays Mary Winchester on the show.
Uh-huh.
And she came up with all you need is cheese. And I thought that was pretty important. And I can relate to that. And yeah, I agree. I can't imagine a life without cheese. I can't. And that's, someone said wine. Oh, Jennifer Copping. I interviewed Jennifer Copping a couple of weeks ago and she said wine. So I said, that goes great with Samantha Smith's answer.
Totally. You got the wine and the cheese.
Exactly.
They would be good on a desert island together.
That's true. Oh man, so they just nailed 2 questions right there.
Yep.
We're getting some answers. Cora, she's saying, wait, so only dead people get to see him, and this makes sense to billions of you. Cora, congratulations. Yes, the answer is wait, so only dead people get to see him, and this makes sense to billions of you. I just thought your delivery of that line was amazing. And I sat there and my kids are sitting there with me and they're high-fiving me like, yeah. I'm the worst mother on the planet. What can I say?
I doubt that.
But yeah, so Cora, congratulations. And I need your address, so email me so I can send you the darkness. Yeah, that sounds good. I'll just send you the darkness in the mail.
You can just send the darkness in a box. It's so easy.
Boxo darkness at you. There you go. So we are actually past our time. And is there anything any parting words you would like to leave with us?
Oh my God, that's so much pressure. Thank you.
I'm sorry?
Thank you. I mean, truly, I'm so excited about this fandom and it's so much fun. So thank you for being such loyal fans of this show and for welcoming me for the most part. And I understand the people that don't welcome me, makes sense. Controversial character. But thank you for caring so much about the show to like not want to welcome me.
That is the weirdest thank you I've ever heard. But yes.
Even people who hate me, thank you for hating me. I would much rather have strong opinions than, you know, just like, meh, whatever.
But to hate you is to love you, right? So does that make sense? I don't think that makes sense, but it's okay.
Yeah, sure. I'll take it.
So I just wanted to thank you for spending time with us tonight. This was so much fun. And all of our viewers are so excited. They're still going nuts in the chat room over here. And here comes the video bomber to say her goodbye.
I wish I had a video bomber.
Well, I could ship her over priority mail. She'll be there in 2 days.
What?
All right.
What, me?
Can I mail you to
I don't know if she's gonna. She's probably not gonna send the flat rate box though, so it's gonna be kind of pricey.
It might be, but she doesn't weigh too much. She's skinny.
Skinny?
You know what you can ship? This is so random, but this was exciting to me to find out. And I learned because some fans from when I was doing The Mentalist shipped me a box of ice cream. You can ship ice cream.
How could you ship
dry ice?
Wait, what?
Oh, okay.
What happened?
Dry ice.
Dry ice. You can ship with dry ice. I didn't know that. That's legal? Oh,
What'd you
that's so good. That sounds like a security nightmare.
Wait, what? You?
She's like, eh.
It's, I guess if they needed to ship body parts, they could do that too. Anyway, mine's going there. Sorry.
Lots of pieces. I say ice cream, you say body parts.
Same difference.
Wait, you said
No. Okay, well, on that note, again, thank you from all of us for spending time. This was a lot of fun, and we really appreciate you. We know
Me too.
and we'd love to have you back down the road so we can see what's going on with the darkness.
Yeah,
And
maybe when we all find out what's going to happen the rest of the season, because I don't know.
everybody, it's kind of like The Walking Dead. Nobody knows what's going on until they have the script in their hands and they find out. They flip to the back to see if they're going to live in that episode.
Well, you know the Walking Dead.
Yes. Okay, well, thank you so much, Emily. You have a great night, and thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
I wrote
Next week.
smiley face. Aww.